So welcome everyone to this week's Publishers Success Weekly Walkthrough. I'll just leave it a few minutes before we get started to wait for everyone to trickle in. But thanks for joining us. Great.
What time is it where you are, Jennifer?
It is now a minute past 5 o'clock. So we're actually joining from different sides of the world. Well, almost a third of the world, different sides of the pond. I'm broadcasting from outside of London, and Lyndon is in our Carlsbad office. So 9 o'clock there?
Yes, it just hit 9 a.m. We're just starting the day out here.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's now a couple minutes past 5 or 9 or wherever you are. So let's get started. So welcome to the Publisher Success Weekly Walkthrough webinar. Each week we tackle different topics related to the world of digital publishing, including content creation tips, SEO, industry trends, and Ezoic best practices. So today we're going to talk to you about how to use social media to increase website traffic and grow your brand. The social media landscape can often feel overwhelming with new sharing platforms emerging every day. So we want to share an easy step-by-step guide on how to approach your social media strategy to engage with your target audience and find new channels to drive visitors to your site. But before we start, let's kick off with some introductions. Now, my name is Jennifer Cannon, and I work in the Publisher Success team here at Ezoic. I have over 10 years experience in digital advertising and publishing. I started my career helping publishers advertise on mobile phones pre-iPhone, so that definitely dates me. I'm a certified wine geek, qualified WSET, a diploma grad. Extremely jealous of Lyndon living so close to Napa Valley out in California. And I'm a crafting hobbyist. So I am in my happy place when you give me things to fold into origami or knitting needles. So that is me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lyndon O'Brien Williams. I started with Ezoic pretty recently, but I work on our marketing team and I run all our social media. So even though I am pretty close to Napa Valley, haven't made it just yet, so I'll keep you posted when I do. But I've been managing social media for a few different clients, a few different brands, all through college and into now. I just graduated from college from Kansas City, Missouri. So if anyone's there, hello. And I'm super passionate about the environment, and I love learning to cook new dishes. That's a little about me.
Great. So what's on tap today? We hear one of the hardest things about building a successful business in 2021 is the need to create a supporting personal or corporate brand on social media. So this needn't be the case if you take the time to understand your audience, structure a plan, and customize your messaging and stay organized. So in this webinar, we're going to explain why publishers should invest in a social media strategy, how to understand your audience and create a target visitor persona, how to create a basic social media plan, how to tailor your social media messaging to engage with your audience across different social media platforms, and finally, some top tips on how to master social media management. So feel free to use the Q&A functionality in Zoom to ask any questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can at the end. And there's also a chat functionality. So feel free to use that if you'd like to engage with any of the other participants as well. So what's the big deal about social media? So it should be no surprise that social media has grown significantly over the past decade. According to the Global State of Digital Publishing 2021 report, joint published by We Are Social and Hootsuite, they're estimated to be 4.2 billion active users across all social media platforms, which equates to approximately 53% of the global population, an increase in 1 billion users in the past 3 years. On average, these users spend 2 hours and 25 minutes each day posting, sharing, and engaging on social channels. You might be interested to know that 98% of social media users access platforms on their phone and are registered to 8 different social media accounts. So with 45% of the internet users researching products on social media, and Gen Z likely to search for brands on social media more so than traditional search engines, we can see a shift in consumer behavior with media, social media playing a critical role in buyers' decision-making processes. So if you have a website looking to sell digital products, or if you're employing an affiliate strategy through product reviews, a social presence is a huge opportunity to drive sales. Once more, if you reach the right audience with the right messaging, people will click on your links. So the data on the slide was updated in January 2021 and ranks the world's most used social platforms according to their active user following. There are 2.7 billion active users on Facebook alone, followed closely by YouTube at 2.3 billion. And it isn't just the younger generation driving the growth of social media adoption. In 2020, baby boomers were one of the fastest growing cohorts on Facebook and Instagram, with female Facebook users aged 55 to 64 posting an average of 10 times per month. We'd highly recommend downloading this Global State of Digital 2021 report. There is a link here in the slides that will be sent out to you after the call, which includes a lot more social media insights broken down by age, gender, and geographic location that you might find interesting.
So as Jennifer mentioned before, we've seen like different changes in consumer behavior in the last few years. And one of those being a shift from traditional media sources. So these are just a couple of examples that people take to searching on social media, things that they might traditionally search for on Google. So I don't know if you guys can see, but on the left, here's TikTok. I searched mac and cheese recipe, and of course, like a bunch of different things come up, and a lot of people search for different content, different places to explore that way. On the right is Instagram and its best places to visit. So if you're smart about it, you can be at the top of the social media results and the Google search engine results. Jennifer, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, if you're looking to target users like Lyndon and myself that are looking for recipes, craft inspiration, travel tips, it's just a great way to engage with that audience and build a relationship and also drive traffic towards your site. So, to successfully harness the power of social media, you need to approach each channel from the user's perspective. A person's motivations will vary from platform to platform, and your messaging should align with their mindset and consumer intent to encourage the most engagement with your posts. We'll go into further detail on how to tailor your messaging to different platforms further on in this presentation too.
And then on the right here is just a little diagram I tried to make of an example post from Ezoic social media. So this is our Twitter, and I was trying to kind of break down like what maybe goes into a good quality post. Not that this is perfect by any means, but you'll notice that there's a graphic that kind of grabs the eye, and that's maybe the central point of the post. At the top, it kind of starts with a question to pique some interest. I make sure to include relevant hashtags so that it can be shared beyond just who's following me, and maybe other people on Twitter might come across it. And then I also make sure to include the link to what is relevant on our site. But I don't make the link like too in your face, because as we'll talk about a little bit later, like even though you want to drive traffic, you don't need to focus 100% on link. Like there's a lot more that goes into it. So
yeah, perfect. So how to understand your audience. Understanding your audience is the first step to a successful social media strategy. So once you know who your audience is, you can more easily identify where to find them and cater to their interests and habits across various social channels. At Ezoic, data is in our DNA. We believe that any business decisions should be informed by facts and figures. So as a digital publisher, you have a wealth of data at your fingertips that you can access through various platforms, including Google Analytics, Ezoic Big Data Analytics. And most social platforms can also provide insights into your audience once you've developed a following. And first-party data that you can access using surveys, questionnaires, or polls also offer valuable insights directly from the fingertips or horse's mouth, I guess, of your target audience themselves, and should not be overlooked. So here are a few examples of the types of insights that you can gather from Google Analytics. In addition to age and gender breakdowns, you can also see a list of affinity categories that provide a holistic picture of the lifestyle, passions, and habits of people that visit your site. These reports are really helpful when thinking about which social platforms are most relevant to your audience. In the top left example, you can make assumptions that shoppers, movie lovers, and food enthusiasts might prefer to spend their time on visual social platforms like Pinterest, YouTube, or Instagram versus more corporate platforms like LinkedIn or text-heavy informational sites like Quora. Google Analytics social acquisition report shown here on the right gives you an idea of the breakdown of traffic to your site from various social networks. So this is a great starting point to see who is engaging with your content now, but shouldn't rule out potential successful low-ranking or even absent social networks from this list. Because after all, at this point, you may not even have a presence on these platforms to send visitors to your site yet. In Ezoic's Big Data Analytics, you can learn even more about your visitors, right down to the monetary value of different segments based on their session earnings and page RPM. Now, this is really important when analyzing the ROI of your social media efforts. You want to focus your energy on engaging and attracting visitors that are going to make you the most money for the business. Under audience reports, our weather report shows you how users' behavior differs based on the weather outside. So you could even use these nuggets to tie this into your marketing strategy to engage with your audience when they're most interested in consuming your content. The Big Data Analytics Categories report highlights performance based on category of your article or post. And you can use this information to inform your content creation strategy, as well as get to know a better picture of the type of content that your audience enjoys.
So there are also like analytics from the social media platforms themselves that might serve you after you've taken a deep dive into Google Analytics and Big Data Analytics to start. So for example, on the left here, you can see some demographics information. So I pulled this from Instagram, I believe, and I can kind of see my top locations, my top ages, and I can use that to decide how to tweak my content. For example, on my Instagram, a bunch of our audience is between 18 to 24 years old. So what does that mean for our content? What might we do to like tweak our messaging to be more interesting to that younger audience? So that's demographics data. On the right here, you can also look at how your individual posts are performing. So in this small snippet, I post multiple times a day, but here we can see like if you look at the type of post, it'll show you photo or video. It's that third column to the right on the photo on the right. So for example, here I'm seeing that our video posts are performing higher than our photo posts. So maybe I could take that and say, okay, I know that video like yields a really high engagement. So maybe I should try to add in a little bit more video to my approach to engage people a little bit further.
Perfect. So first-party data is gold dust. However, you need to be considerate when requesting information from your visitors and provide some type of value exchange for their efforts. It's also important that you comply with regional privacy legislation when dealing with personal information. Surveys incentivized through prize sweepstakes or exclusive content giveaways are great ways to drum up participation and can be leveraged in addition to learning more about your audience for content creation ideas, website feedback, and newsletter signups. So take your time to structure a comprehensive survey and be respectful of your visitors' time. There are various products available in the market to help structure, deliver, and analyze a survey. The screenshot that we include on the slide is from WP Forms, a drag and drop WordPress form builder that can be embedded in your posts or your sidebar or the footer of your site. But I'd recommend taking a look around to see what other tools are around and can suit your needs. Once you've done your research, it's time to define that visitor persona. So you can think about persona as this hypothetical archetype that represents key traits of a large segment of your audience based on the analytics and first-party data that you've gathered from various analytics platforms and first-party data.
So this is just an example, a mock-up. I don't know if this site exists, but lovetobake.com, it really might. So this is not thorough. You definitely want to be like, you probably want to have like some bullet points and a little bit more of thought out examples, but I just wanted to give an idea of like what this might look like. So maybe you're going to name your hypothetical persona Claire for lovetobake.com. You've figured out, like from all this research that you've done on Google Analytics, big data analytics, even on the social media analytics themselves, like kind of what content Claire likes and what she engages with. So first you see that like she's really interested in recipes. Like you're posting other blogs, you're posting other stuff to your social media, but the stuff she likes best is recipes. So that's great to know. And maybe you also know that she primarily looks for those on Pinterest. So you can kind of focus like, okay, I'm going to use Pinterest and I'm going to post a lot of recipes there. Then we know she loves to repost, especially on Instagram. Well, that's great for you because if you post something that she wants to bake, she might add it to her story and say, I want to try this recipe. Great for you, leads back to your page, builds you traffic. Maybe you also know that she follows brands and really likes when they post how-tos. So an opportunity for you to build your brand there. And then maybe for Claire specifically, she does not understand Twitter and she has no desire to. So you're not going to want to focus too much energy on Twitter. But it's also important to note that like, it's possible if you're a smaller site, you just have Claire as your persona. But for example, with Ezoic social media, we have multiple different audience types. So it's kind of important to keep that in mind that like we might have Claire, we might have Sean, we might have a bunch of other people who all have different needs, and you can still meet those needs as you tailor your strategy.
So now you have a better idea of who you want to reach. You can start thinking about how to create your social media plan. So the first step to creating a social media plan is choosing your networks. With the visitor persona in mind, start by making a list of social networks that you'd like to include in your plan. Where are the best places to connect with your audience? Remember that you have time and resource limitations. You can't do everything at once and you need to prioritize. So that being said, we've gotten to a stage where social media isn't optional, but business critical to establish credibility in the market. So if a social network is large enough, like Facebook, for example, it may still be worthwhile to build a business profile and regularly update the page, even if it doesn't necessarily reap the same traffic rewards as other platforms. So once you've selected your social network shortlist, assign a rough percentage of time that you'd be willing to commit to each platform. If you manage a health site, you might decide to spend the majority of your time on a community platform like Facebook. Whereas if your site targets more of a B2B audience, you may find that focusing your attention on LinkedIn will achieve better traction for your business and your brand. Building your social media strategy is an iterative process, so don't worry if the first media plan isn't perfect. Moving forward, you will need to regularly evaluate performance to help you decide which platforms warrant further investment and which should be scaled down or abandoned entirely. Next, you'll want to create a social content plan. This plan will help you to stay organized and promote your content regularly and consistently across relevant social media channels. So remember, it won't just be new articles that you'll want to post. You may want to schedule time to share links to older articles relevant at specific seasonal times of the year, or news and announcements about your business, including awards or events that you'll be attending. And you want to factor in promotional posts, so encouraging newsletter signups or product promotions too. So in addition to figuring out what type of content you want to share, you'll also want to decide which networks they should be shared on. You may feel comfortable sharing all content categories on Twitter, but you may use LinkedIn to share company news and in-depth industry knowledge pieces only. I've taken this image from an article posted by CoSchedule, which is a marketing management software solution, and included a link to their article, The Best Ways to Plan a Social Media Strategy in 5 Steps, with a free template that you might find interesting too. Now, the only way to know whether your social media strategy is working is by setting concrete goals that can be measured on a monthly basis. Now, I read that George T. Doran reportedly coined the phrase SMART objectives back in 1981, but I've seen many different iterations of this acronym over the years. But despite being cheesy and a little bit obvious, it's a useful reminder to set specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based goals. You'll want to track your progress towards website growth and brand awareness separately. So we've included some examples on this slide to help you get started, like setting a goal for a certain number or percentage increase in traffic referrals from each platform, or tracking the increasing engagement metrics like likes, shares, or subscribers. Now, so now you have your social media plan. Let's talk about how you can go about engaging with your audience across each of these platforms. In short, you'll need to tailor your strategy to each platform. So over the next few slides, we'll walk you through what type of content works best for each platform, what type of post performs best, and what you should avoid doing. As mentioned earlier, the average internet user is active on 8 different social media platforms. So this suggests that they're getting something different from the content and community on each network, and may have different motivations or expectations when logging in to check each respective media feed. You'll need to think like a native platform user when creating your posts, and align the messaging and content with what your followers want to consume. LinkedIn algorithm prioritizes long form posts because they drive the best engagement on that platform. So you may find success using this channel for posting industry thought leadership pieces. Alternatively, high quality imagery tends to perform best on visual platforms like Instagram and Pinterest, and news updates would be best received on Twitter by users trying to stay up to date on what's going on in the world. So ultimately, the key is to have people care about you, what you post, and encourage them to react to it.
So this post is kind of going into a little bit more in detail on something that Jennifer mentioned earlier about how your content might look different based on each platform. So here's an example of a post that I made at the same time, like on the same day. It's the same graphic, it's the same link. I'm trying to promote the same piece of content, but on the left is our LinkedIn and on the right is our Twitter. So similarly to how Jennifer mentioned before, like on our LinkedIn, based on what we know on our audience, it's a lot of people who are in the professional world who want to know more about what Ezoic is up to. So we tied this post on a new blog back to kind of like our mission of improving our platform and making our publishers' lives easier. Whereas on the right, same post, but you see that I included emojis and I kind of made it a little bit more playful because I just wanted to fit the Twitter voice that we have. So that's kind of a way, like this is just one example of how you can differ content by platform, but you'll notice on both of them, I tagged the person who wrote the blog and I included the link because those are things that you should always do. Don't differ by platform.
So what type of posts perform best? As a digital publisher, you'll be using social media for two main reasons. One, to drive traffic to your site, and two, to establish brand through community engagement. So let's first talk about traffic. How do you encourage your audience to click through to your site? So testing is key. If one approach doesn't drive results, try another. Some strategies include producing a short form video teaser, which could redirect to a full video on your website, or posting engaging infographics that spark interest in your blog post. Use polls with a question relevant to a piece of content on your site, or organize giveaway contests.
So this is an example of me kind of playing around and trying to vary the content that we put out to be a little more engaging. So on the left, I kind of pose a question that people are forced to interact with. And I'm asking, how do we think the Google Core update in June is affecting publishers? And we kind of see that a lot of people aren't sure. And then I use that as an opportunity to promote on the right the blog that we just wrote on that exact topic. So I kind of teed it up and got ready and used that engagement to build a little bit of excitement and relevance for our blog.
So let's next talk about building your brand. How do you create social media posts that foster high engagement? So why not try asking open-ended questions to get a conversation started, or be provocative. There's nothing like a little bit of controversy to start a debate. So as long as your posts stay loosely related to your subject niche, the world really is your oyster in terms of the type of posts that you can share. Use humor. A meme or a smart pun related to your website genre would always be well received. Social media platforms are much more about entertainment than just pure information dissemination. So finding a way to deliver your message in an amusing way, irrespective of the dullness of the topic, will help drive higher engagement with your audience. Everyone needs a little bit of fun in their lives. So the aim is to produce highly shareable content. And I know it's easier said than done, but think to yourself, what type of content would you want to share with your friends and colleagues, and why? And last but not least, ask for it. All Ezoic Explained videos end with a request to subscribe to our channel, give a thumbs up, or leave a comment. That being said, important caveat is Facebook. And Facebook explicitly prohibits posts that solicit comments, likes, and shares. So please be warned and bear this in mind when working with this platform.
So in line with kind of doing things that engage your audience and perform better to kind of build your brand, here are just a couple of examples, not saying they hit the ball out of the park and perform so much better than everything else, but it helps to kind of mix this kind of thing in so that people are excited for your content and not just like, oh, great, another link. So here on the left, I'm kind of asking like, hey, is there something you're curious to know more about? Like, we'd love to hear it, DM us, and we include some funny emojis. And we got a couple answers, and that actually helps us because then we have content ideas. And then on the right, what's one thing you knew or you wish you knew before starting your site, share the wisdom. Like, again, kind of soliciting interaction and trying to build more of a community. And in the end, that just helps our brand and our website.
Now, go ahead, Lyndon.
Well, no, I'll let you go. You can explain the.
Perfect. Yeah, this is the caveats. Don't worry, these are just mock-ups. But yeah, no, to wrap up this section on how to engage with your audience on social media, it's worth touching on what not to do. So here are 3 pointers on what you should avoid. So don't overuse a certain type of content, a certain type of post. So throwing too many polls at your audience may get boring. So get creative and keep your following interested and engaged with new and interesting formats. Avoid excessive self-promotion, because part of the social media, become part of the social media community and offer value on solutions to your followers. This is specifically relevant to platforms like Reddit, Quora, and Facebook communities, where it can be clearly obvious when users simply trying to plug their latest blog post without any relevant value add to the group. So if you're viewed as an expert or reliable source within the channel, the link through to your website will be considered further reading versus just unwanted spam. And don't be overly focused on links. Start by putting your energy towards building a relationship with your community. If you build a social media following, your brand will blossom and the clicks will then follow.
Like Jennifer said, none of these are actually published. And to be honest, I doubt any of you guys would publish these. I just wanted to kind of put some funny examples to help you remember like what not to do. But a note on excessive self-promotion. Of course, you're probably not going to be writing, my site is the best, my site is the best, my site is the best. But you might find yourself publishing so much about like, this is our new product. This is what we've done lately. And then you find that you're not really adding any value to the point where a follower has a reason to be following you. So be sure that mixed in with the links to your site and the content that you're putting out to link to your site, be sure you're also putting stuff out there that would give someone a reason to follow you.
Great. So in these final slides, we wanted to share some top tips on how to become a confident social media marketer and master the tricks of the trade. So you've found the right mix of content that works across each social media platform. How do you stay organized and optimize your social media activity? Ultimately, you need to be consistent, build credibility, regularly review performance and iterate your strategy, and stay organized and consider using third-party tools.
So as far as consistency, here's an example. I just pulled a screenshot of a week in Ezoic social media posting. And while not every single day looks the exact same, there are kind of some consistent patterns here. So for example, you'll notice I have the most number of posts always go to Twitter. Like that's what we're used to. We usually post 3 to 4 times on Twitter. I used to post every single day on Instagram, but realized that wasn't really serving us. It was not helping us at all. So I kind of going into the next point also on constantly reevaluating. Sometimes a consistent schedule is great for a little bit, but then you'll still need to go back and look at how it might need to be tweaked. So here's just an example of the consistency I try to build.
I think it's just really important to stay accountable to yourself and your plan. And so having a schedule, whether or not it changes from week to week, is just really important to kind of keep the motivation and ensure that you are doing what you should be doing. So building credibility. So whether you're an early stage blogger or a large consumer brand, in order to build trust and credibility on social media, you need to be authentic, transparent, and relatable. So you build relationships, grow a community, and then the traffic will follow. Now, it's important to regularly review performance. Use big data analytics to assess the value of each social media traffic source and that will help you inform changes to your strategy. So using this traffic sources report, you can compare user experience and session revenue metrics for your social media visitors. In this example, Instagram is driving the best results with comparatively higher engagement metrics like page views per visit and engaged the time per visit, as well as higher session revenue. So this might encourage you to spend a little bit more time investing in Instagram and posting on that channel to help drive more traffic to the site. Remember, even if you don't plan to spend money hiring a dedicated social media manager, your energy put toward posting content, monitoring accounts for questions, mentions, and messages all will take time. So it's important that you make a data-driven decisions on how to prioritize your social media activity to drive the best ROI for your business. And as your social media activity grows and becomes more complex, you may find that investing in third-party software can make your life a little bit easier. So we've just included some example free, freemium, and paid tools that you might want to explore. So scheduling tools like Hootsuite and Buffer allow you to design and bulk schedule posts at times that suit you. So your audience will come to expect posts at specific times, and you'll want to be there to deliver your content when they expect it and want it. Monitoring tools like Mention and Pulsar allow you to easily monitor social media conversations relating to your brand and niche. And content discovery and creation tools like Feedly and BuzzSumo help you spot trending topics and relevant content that you can share with other sites. Now, our aim of this webinar was to help you feel confident about incorporating social media into your greater business strategy. All publishers, both large and small, can benefit from a social media presence to engage with your audience across various channels, grow brand awareness, and redirect traffic to your site. With a good understanding of your visitors, a solid social content plan, and a flair for creativity, you can leverage social media to meet the interests of your readers as well as to drive ROI for your business.
And if I may, I know that you have reference material in the next one. A lot of this webinar was based off of a blog we recently wrote on building a social media strategy that works for your site. So I'd encourage you guys to head to the Ezoic blog and just see what great social media tips are on there. And then if you don't follow Ezoic on social media, do that.
No, that's excellent. Please do. But included in this slide that will be posted out to you after the webinar, Ezoic blog resources, video resources, and industry references that you can use to further your exploration into social media and building your strategy. So we've come to the end of our presentation, and I see that there are a couple of questions in our Q&A. Let's see what we have here. So lovely to see you again, Ashish. Let's see, Sarah Wright says, I run a crafting blog. Ooh, exciting. I will have to check you out. I'm a fan of crocheting myself. Which social media platform should I concentrate on?
So that's a great question. And I think that a lot of people who are in a certain like industry or niche would love to know like the perfect answer of like where to focus. I could give you some ideas based off of what kind of content seems to work well on certain social media sites. But in the end, like I would definitely recommend that you kind of do that research that we showed at the beginning on like looking into your analytics and that kind of thing. That being said, I definitely think it would be worth it to look into Pinterest because it's very craft oriented. And then I know that Instagram can be very visual. But I don't know, Jennifer, if you have other thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess your content could be tailored to a wide range of platforms. For example, I mean, YouTube, if you were going and, creating videos on how to crochet, for example, could be an interesting one. I'd encourage you to use Ezoic's video player as well, if that were the case, to display those how-to videos. But yeah, I mean, I think with going back to what we were talking about in terms of tailoring your content to the different platforms, think about the type of visitors that are engaging with each social community and how you could align with what they might be searching or wanting to get out of that platforms and just test. I think really testing is key. Run with a couple of platforms for a duration of time, establish goals, monitor and assess and evaluate. And you may be surprised. I mean, maybe you'd find that some forums might yield really successful results if people are asking specific questions about how to do a certain stitch. So I would certainly test away.
Yeah, and also adding to that, I realize we have so many like tangible tips and places to start, and we definitely recommend doing that. But it also doesn't hurt to just get out there and start posting and seeing like how that works for you and tailoring it as you go, because I think the worst outcome would be to be paralyzed by all of this research that could help into not actually starting. So that's just another thought.
To just do it. No, I think that's definitely a good point. So Robert says, do you have a ranking of social media platforms whose users will more readily engage with your website? How do you track correlation to Instagram followers who visit one site?
So I don't know of any ranking like in general for this, because again, it's definitely going to depend on the account and the site and the person. But there are some social media side analytics that show you like link clicks and how many you're getting from different platforms. So you can start there, and you also can start. We had that slide on Google as a screenshot from Google Analytics on the traffic report based on social media, like so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like it ranks like the different social media platforms and how much traffic you're getting from them. So I think that would be a place to start. Jennifer,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So Big Data Analytics as well has that traffic sources report, and it gives you that breakdown to the EPMV level, which is really, really useful. So I think versus thinking about like how many users are on a social media platform and like the click-through rate, so to speak, onto your site, what I'd think about more is how much time it takes for you to post on a certain platform and then the rewards that you get from that, if that makes sense. I'm not sure, Lyndon, if that's, I mean, I'm definitely not a social media expert here, but I'd certainly, yeah, like assess ROI on your social media efforts based on the amount of time it takes to manage your social media activities, and then how much traffic you're getting out of it and the value of that traffic, because you may find that some traffic sources into your site are engaged with your content more, hence more opportunities for ads to be displayed. Maybe advertisers would find them more valuable and would bid higher on those impressions. So really to be looking at that as well. Okay, so next question. Which is the best platform to start for a publisher with limited to no social media presence, assuming the goal is organic reach and re-engagement, no paid campaigns?
That's a good question. And I like where you're going with it, to just figure out like where to start building that, because you have to start somewhere. I guess it would depend on what you primarily are wanting to post, but I definitely think the big three, being Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, would be good spots to try out and see how you can succeed there. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Jennifer, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation really would be to go through kind of our flow of understanding your audience, and then putting together a basic social media plan that you can iterate as you assess how you're doing. I think really, yeah, test, evaluate, and change. But I think that that's a good shout to kind of go with the tried and tested top three to start. Also very much depends on, you know, your website, your niche, yeah, your audience. All right, next question. How are you dealing with lower Facebook organic reach, and what platforms are providing better organic reach right now?
So if I'm understanding right, I think this person is asking about, like, in general, if Facebook is kind of providing lower organic reach. Is that what you understand, Jennifer?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't, again, I think this question is kind of hard to answer in a general sense. I don't know that there's any way to look at like what platforms are providing better organic reach, because they might be providing better organic reach for like content based on food or like crafts, but maybe for some reason other content that's maybe like photo or I don't know, like might not be performing quite as well. So I would say with dealing with lower organic reach anywhere, a good place to start is just trying to go in and troubleshoot and look at which posts might be performing slightly better with organic reach, and like try to come up with what those have in common. So like on Facebook, we almost always get better organic reach on video content. So is there like a way that you can incorporate more graphics or more questions to your audience into your Facebook plan to see where that gets you? Like, I think that's where I would say to start.
Cool. Please feel free to follow up with any follow-up questions if we're not kind of hitting the nail on the head with any responses. But thanks, Lyndon. Okay, so Robert says, any tips on growing your RSS subscriber base?
That one is a little over my head. I am not super familiar with an RSS subscriber base.
So Robert, same here. Unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with RSS feeds, and so I wouldn't be able to answer on the spot now. So unfortunately, we might just need to leave that question hanging. But something that makes me think that I should go away and do a little bit of research on that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I can't help there. If anyone else knows anything about RSS subscriptions, please feel free to post in the chat. I'm sure Robert would appreciate any feedback from the community. Okay.
I think the other Lyndon on here, maybe Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, and he just sent in the chat that coverage of relevant events is great for RSS feed traffic. So that might be one place to start. Okay, yes, it's Tyler.
Great. So next question. I'm a crochet pattern designer. What if I don't have any news to share with my followers? How do I stay consistent?
Well, I would say not all of your content has to be new and news based. Like I frequently, like when I'm posting, because I'm posting multiple times a day on multiple platforms, realistically, we're not coming up with 4 new blogs every single day for me to post. Sometimes I pull from other content that we've already published in the past that is relevant again. So, for example, in July, it's frequent to see EPMV dips with seasonality. And I knew that that was a topic happening right now. And I also knew that we had posted something on that last year. So I took that and I said, hey, this is from last year, still very relevant, check it out. And that's one way to kind of like recycle content. I also would say if it's like photo content or like coming up with graphics that you're worried about, I would check out Canva. If you haven't heard of it, it can help you kind of make new graphics very, very easily. Like you don't need to have any design experience. They have a ton of templates. So even if you didn't have a crochet pattern, maybe you could post something that says new blog up on my website in a really cute font that goes with your website to drive traffic that way.
And I guess to add to that, I mean, all of your posts don't need to be focused on driving traffic to your website, and just building those relationships and building that community can be done with any topic kind of like loosely relevant to your niche, or something that even if the Olympics, I'm sure you could somehow creatively tie back to crochet, talking about, I don't know, various different uniforms or something. I don't know, can't think on the spot, but I think, social media, as we've kind of said before in previous slides, it doesn't need to be overly focused on links all of the time. And find creative ways to push some of the content pages that might match up with current trending topics that are happening right now. Even seasons. Like if you depending on the type of crochet that you have, but if you're there's scarves or the lacy tops, use holidays and seasonal changes to be able to create that type of material.
Oh, that's a great answer in the chat from Sarah, kind of related to the earlier question about Facebook organic reach. So yeah, check that out. Posting in groups can kind of help.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're approaching the end of our webinar, but we still have a few minutes. If anyone has a last minute question that they would like to post, please feel free to do so. It has really been a pleasure connecting with everyone this afternoon for me. And please feel free to tune in to our weekly webinars that are held each Wednesday on various different topics. Feedback is always welcome on type of topics that you would like us to discuss with you, whether it be latest Ezoic products or something interesting that's happening in the industry. please get in contact, with Publisher Success Rep or anyone through our marketing channels to give your feedback. And that definitely helps us in terms of providing content that is valuable and useful to you. So, brilliant. Well, with that, then I think we will wrap up. So, any final words, Lyndon?
No, but thank you. Thanks for listening. It was really nice to kind of go through this stuff with you guys today.
Perfect. All right. Well, brilliant all. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and see you soon. All right. Bye.